You've been invited here today because you have been awarded a fiscal year 2025 Tribal Victim Services Set-Aside Grant. We'd like to welcome you to the grant community. Let's get started. I'm Michelle Adams of the Office for Victims of Crime, Tribal Victim Services Training and Technical Assistance, TVISTA for short. First, a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and will be available to the public on the OVC TVSSA website in about 10 days. We'll drop a link to the chat for that site. Throughout our session today, please enter your questions through the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen instead of in the chat. This will help us identify and address your questions quickly. Please use the chat feature today for general communication with the host and fellow participants and to find the resources our presenters will share. For closed captioning, please click on the CC button on the lower left of your screen. And finally, if you are experiencing any technical issues with this session today, please let us know in the chat box or email our technical support using the email address on the screen, support@tvista.org. Now, I'll turn it over to Janet Rapson, a grant manager for the Office for Victims of Crime, to open our session in a good way. Thank you.
Ihani Washday, everyone. I want to welcome you here today in a good way. I'm so excited to be here with all the grantees across Indian country as you get ready to embark on your award. I'm just going to say a few good words to send us off today in a good way. Chungashula, thank you for allowing us to be here together to work together as we support both victims and survivors of crime across our various nations. Chungashula, please support the advocates, the administrators who work tirelessly every day to support the people within their community who've been harmed by crime, and that we have the ability to wrap our kindness and good thoughts as we help them through their journey to healing. Chungashula, please support also our staff here at OVC Tribal Division as we navigate through this process with their grantees. Chungashula, please give us the wisdom and the patience to be able to guide individuals in a good way so that we can help heal as our people journey through what could be some of the most difficult times in their lives. And Chungashula, thank you for all the advocates out there who work every day to ensure the safety of our citizens of our tribal nations. Mitaki Mase. I am now going to pass the baton to our OVC Tribal Division Director, Labrita White, so she can do our introduction. Thank you all for being here today.
Greetings, everyone, and thank you so much, Janet. I'll begin my remarks by actually thanking Janet for the wonderful way she opened our session. Thanks so much, Janet, for your sincere expressions to move us forward in a good way. As Janet has shared, I am Labrita White, the Director of the Tribal Division in the Office for Victims of Crime, and I'm most delighted to welcome you to the Tribal Victim Services Set Aside orientation, and most frequently we're referred to as the FY, through this presentation, the FY 2025 TVSSA program. Tribal Victim Services Set Aside, definitely a long title, so you will hear us if you're new to our program, frequently refer to the work as TVSSA. The Tribal Division staff have worked in collaboration with our training and technical assistance providers to share critical information with you today, with the aim of ensuring that you have access to tools and resources needed to provide victim services. Construct and renovate your offices and shelters if you have construction projects that were proposed, as well as manage your committed staff, team of staff who work daily to provide victims and their families with trauma-informed, culturally relevant, victim-centered support and services. Please know the incredible work that you do daily does not go unnoticed, and we appreciate how you so often overcome challenges with innovation and creativity. As you may be aware, since the Tribal Set Aside program began in 2018, OVC has made hundreds of TVSSA awards, which now provide victim services to thousands of crime victims and their families in well over 200 tribal communities. In FY 2025, we funded 231 set-aside awards at $79.7 million in formula grant. Those were formula grant awards. So this was a significant increase over the 199 applications funded in FY 2024. And to ensure all unclaimed funds were allocated to TVSSA, we increased your award allocations by over $56,000 from the amount previously calculated that was previously shared with you in the initial NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity. So that's pretty significant, a pretty significant increase. So what we learned in FY 2025, among many lessons, is tribes adapted well to the new virtual application tool, or it was referred to as the program narrative questionnaire. It was generally easy to navigate by most applicants. We hope you would agree with that. We also learned it was important to be flexible with the changing due dates for the FY 2025 award process. Because of the delay in providing award notification in early February, please know you can draw down funds for approved victim service activities performed under your awards from October 1 through February. And that information is related to awards that were made with an effective date of October 1 or an October 1 start date. So if you were providing victim services based on your approved activities, and you have access to drawdown funds because you've met award conditions, you can certainly do so. We've been experiencing or receiving some questions about that and thought it was important to share that update. And for awards with a January 1st start date, TVSSA funds can be used for approved activities beginning January 1. If you have any questions regarding the start date of your grant and when you can draw down funds for what periods of time, please contact your assigned OVC grant manager. All right. And one other thing to note about drawdowns, please know that some awards have restrictions. And if you're working to meet any requirements for the award conditions, there may be some withholdings in place. And again, if you have any questions about withholdings, award conditions, access to drawdown funds, please contact your grant manager. Your TVSSA programs will serve victims of arson, assault, burglary, child abuse, dating violence, domestic violence, elder abuse, fraud, identity theft, kidnapping, trafficking, rape, sexual assault, and the list goes on. So over the next several months and years, we look forward to learning about the positive outcomes on how your programs provide direct services to crime victims and their families, pay the salaries of victim advocates, run supervised visitation programs to allow children to stay connected to their families, provide civil legal assistance to crime victims dealing with repercussions of their victimization, buy emergency groceries, pay for emergency housing or shelter for victims, even amending your tribal codes to include stronger victim protections, leasing vehicles to take victims back and forth to critical appointments, holding sings and ceremonies to help victims connect back with their communities. And it's so important that you also are able to use this funding to meet the needs of family members who are experiencing the loss of missing or murdered Indigenous persons. So the work you've done in your TVSSA programs for those who have received awards in the past, and you will continue to do with your 2025 awards, provides such tremendous and much needed services to crime victims in American Indian and Alaska Native communities. So thank you for your just your passion and your heart to meet the needs of persons at the most vulnerable times of their lives. And that brings us to fiscal year 2026. As you probably know, we are currently accepting population certification forms under the first phase of the FY 2026 TVSSA application process until March 23rd, 2026. So all federally recognized tribes, including those that previously received a TVSSA award in 2025 or earlier, you're invited to submit your population certification. This includes the newest federally recognized tribe, Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina. So someone is going to place a link into the chat if you have not already submitted your pop cert, so you'll have that link and you can do so by the March 23rd due date. In FY 2026, the tribal set aside is approximately 97.5 million. And so as we get closer to the time, and actually when we release the notice of funding opportunity, we'll have more concrete, specific information on the availability of funds. So the first step in the process is to complete the population certification form that I just spoke about, because that signals to us your intent to apply for FY 2026 funding. As I said before, federally recognized tribes can apply, but also you have the option to designate another organization to apply on your behalf or to seek TVSSA funding as part of a tribal consortium. So at this time, I want to close my remarks by once again thanking you for joining us today. And please know the OVC Tribal Division staff look forward to providing you with support as you prepare to accept your FY 2025 awards and begin using those funds to carry out your plans over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 years of your project period. Again, we appreciate the amazing work that you do in your tribal communities and your participation in today's webinar. Now, at this time, Janet will kick off the orientation presentation. Thank you again.
Thanks, Sabrina. I just want to do a quick introduction. Again, my name is Janet Routson. I'm a member of the Sicangu Uyate, the Rosebud Sioux tribe here in South Dakota. I also want to introduce you to my co-presenters and colleagues, Ramisa Pitts and Lori Gardner, who will both be presenting today. Next slide, please. Now I want you to meet all of our OVC grant managers in the tribal division. We just have a great bunch of individuals who are dedicated to assisting you in the work that you're doing under this funding. So they are all ready and willing to support you. Please reach out to them if you have questions or assistance. That's what we're here for. Next slide. This is our OVC's Tribal Division leadership. You just met Labrita. They guide our work. Our other leader in our division is Teresa Payton. She's the Tribal Deputy Division Deputy Director, and they are also here to support you. Next slide, please. Just so we get an idea about who is joining us here today and your award, we will get started with a quick poll. So please answer. We'll give you a few minutes to do that. What your role is. Are you Victim Services Director, a victim advocate, a grants officer, grant writer, finance officer, an accountant, or other? We'd appreciate your response. Give you a few minutes. Okay. And here are your responses. 33% victim services coordinators, 6% are victim advocates. We have a bunch of you wonderful grants officers or grant writers, finance officers, and others. I saw, a couple of different roles in here. I even seen one individual asking if he was the only police officer. So
Hi, everyone. I am Ramisa Pitts, as Janet mentioned. I am also one of the grant managers within the OVC Tribal Division, and I will pick up until Janet can rejoin us. So next slide is it. This one talks about the agenda for today. It talks about the welcome and introductions. It also talks about the overview of OVC programs, the FY 2025 TVSSA funding highlights and updates, understanding the award conditions and financial guidelines, the grant recipient support system, how to address award conditions, and resources and upcoming events. Next slide, please. So again, welcome to today's webinar. We are super excited to have you here, and we most certainly appreciate your interest in learning more about how you can best manage your new Office for Victims of Crime, known as OVC Grant Award, under the Tribal Set Aside Program. So our main objective for this session is to provide you with in-depth knowledge and resources to help you manage your grants effectively. Managing grants can be a challenging task, a very challenging task, but our team is most certainly here to support you throughout the process and equip you with the tools, resources, and information you need to succeed. So during this session, we will cover the following essential aspects of managing OVC grants. First, we will provide an overview of the Office for Victims of Crime and the Tribal Set Aside Program. We will then cover post-award requirements. Now that you have received your grant award, there are several post-award requirements that you must comply with, such as submitting regular progress reports and complying with federal regulations. We will provide an overview of these requirements. And finally, we will provide an overview of the many resources and support that are available to assist you, including an introduction to your OVC funded training and technical assistance providers. We do understand that it can be overwhelming to manage a grant, especially if you are new to this process. And we know that we do have at least one new grantee. That is why we have recorded this session, and we will make it available for future playback on the OVC website. This means that even if you miss something or need to revisit a particular topic, you can always access the recording at your convenience. So thank you for joining us again, and we hope you find this webinar informative and helpful. What is the Office of Justice Programs? So I will go back over that so that now that you can see the slide on the screen. What is the Office of Justice Programs? It is, so the Office of Justice Programs provides grant funding, training, research, and statistics to the criminal justice community. As I stated before, OJP is one of 3 grant-making components of the Department of Justice, along with the Office on Violence Against Women, known as OVW, and the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, known as COPS. Next slide, please. So to start us off, we want to share OVC's mission and major responsibilities. OVC is committed to enhancing the nation's capacity to assist crime victims and to providing leadership in changing attitudes, policies, and practices to promote justice and healing for all victims of crime. Next slide, please. So the Office for Victims of Crime, which is part of the Department of Justice's Office of Justice Programs, known as OJP, administers the Crime Victims Fund, which is financed by fines and penalties paid by convicted federal offenders and not from tax dollars. Each year, Congress allocates a portion of the proceeds in the CVF to OVC as part of the US DOJ's appropriations bill. This funding supports formula programs to states, territories, and tribes, as well as many OVC discretionary grant programs for victims of crime. OVC is organized into 5 divisions, including the Tribal Division. Next slide, please. So this just talks about where we're going next in terms of the Tribal Division and TVSSA program. So OVC provides grants to improve crime victim services in tribal communities through various programs. Some of the programs in the Tribal Division has funded, that we've funded, include the Tribal Victim Services Set Aside program known as TVSSA, which is a non-competitive program and can be used to serve victims of all crimes and of all ages. The Children's Justice Act Partnerships for Indian Communities is another program which helps with help communities improve the investigation, prosecution, and handling of child abuse, particularly child sexual abuse, in a culturally appropriate and trauma-informed way, and reduce trauma for child victims. This program is offered under the Coordinated Tribal Assistance Solicitation, more commonly referred to you all as CTAS. There's also Project Beacon, which is an overarching, which has an overarching goal to increase the quantity and quality of victim-centered services available to assist American Indian and Alaska Native victims of human trafficking in urban areas. Next slide, please. So under the TVSSA program, we offer maximum flexibility for tribes and tribal serving organizations to meet the needs of their communities provided that the funding is used to support victims of crime. So some of the examples of the allowable program activities and specific costs that grants funds may be used to support would be for victims of crime, including forming a sexual assault program, creating policies and procedures for a domestic violence shelter, providing civil legal assistance to victims in need, assisting victims of financial abuse and exploitation, hiring on staff, counselors to provide direct services to victims, such as individual counseling or support groups, care for victims of elder abuse, promoting the use of traditional practices, and integrating culture to serve crime victims in Indian country, amongst many others. Next slide, please. In 2018, Congress created a tribal victim services set aside from the Crimes Victim Fund for the very first time. This means that money is set aside specifically to help victims of crime in tribal communities. Since then, Congress has continued to appropriate funds under the tribal set aside each year. The OVC FY 2025 TVSSA formula program is designed to support a wide range of activities to aid victims of crime, such as direct services, strategic planning, victim service program development and expansion, community outreach and education, procurement of tangible items related to victim services, and other activities tailored to address the unique needs of victims of any type of crime in tribal communities, including missing or murdered Indigenous persons. The program expansion can include expanding types of services provided to victims, including traditional healing practices, expanding populations served, and/or expanding the types of crimes addressed. Next slide, please. This is just a chart that shows the TVSSA grant funding from the historical funding from FY18 to FY 2025. Next slide, please. So here is a detailed breakdown of the FY 2025 TVSSA grant program. The total number of awards for FY 25 totals 231. These awards were made to organizations that met the eligibility criteria set forth in the TVSSA grant program guidelines. The minimum award amount was $256,619. This was the lowest award to an organization that met the eligibility criteria. The maximum award amount was $1,355,549. This was the highest award to an applicant, including consortia that met the eligibility requirement. The period of performance start date, as Labrita mentioned, could be either October 1 or January 1, which was selected by the actual awardee. So that would be October 1, 2025 or January 1, 2026. The period of performance duration is up to 5 years. So that would be a 60-month period of performance. This is the maximum duration of time for which the organizations can use the funds. And again, the date was selected by the entity during the time of application. For more information on recipients of TVSSA and other OVC grants, we will drop a link in the chat if you're curious about that. Next slide, please. So the tribal set-aside funding can be used for a broad range of programs, activities, equipment, and supplies to establish, develop, improve, or acquire victim services. To pretty much make things easier, OVC has provided a chart that lists the allowable and unallowable activities for the tribal set aside. And although the list is not exhaustive, it offers a general guideline on the types of costs and activities that are considered allowable. There are 4 questions that can help you decide if a cost is allowable or not. One question would be, does the cost relate to supporting or assisting crime victims? Another question could be, can the cost that you are requesting funding for be allocated specifically to your project? Another question could be, is the cost reasonable? And then there is another question that you may want to ask yourself, are the costs listed in the allowable and unallowable cost chart? If you can answer these questions, the activity and cost is most likely allowable under the tribal set aside. And to review the NOFO in terms of looking at the cost chart, the allowable cost chart, it also has, again, the allowable items there, and then it has a list of the some general unallowable items there. You can take a look at that in the NOFO, and we will also drop a link to that in the chat. Next slide, please. It is important to understand that funds allocated for crime victims services have certain statutory limitations on their use. Congress established these limitations when it created the set aside, stating that the funds must comply with the Victims of Crime Act's requirements and be allocated to Indian tribes to help improve victim services. There are some costs that are generally not allowed in grant project budgets. So some of those will include like the activities for services not related to victim services or that do not assist victims of crime or improve victim services. Another one is costs related or costs that may be incurred outside of the project period. Criminal justice activities that are not related to serving crime victims, such as costs for criminal investigations and prosecutions, general costs associated with operating a court or correctional facility, and probation parole units. So I would just want to note that this probation does not prevent criminal justice agencies from using grant funds to provide victim services, such as hiring a victim advocate to work in a prosecutor's office, court, probation, or probation parole units. Food is another item. Beverages, meals, or refreshments for meetings, conferences, or trainings. So please note that food provided to crime victims is part of a direct service or while victims participate in cultural or traditional activities that may have been reasonably incorporated into victim services is allowable. Lobbying is another one that is excluded. Fundraising activities, legal services for criminal defense, and tort actions. Your application included, as I stated before, an unallowable costs or activities list. So you will be requested to remove anything from your budget that is unallowable. So please take a look at that list. And if we reach out to you with any of those items that may be unallowable, we would ask that you remove those items from your particular budget. Next slide, please. So we frequently receive inquiries about the necessary deliverables from the Tribal Set Aside program. We understand the importance of project deliverables as they present tangible or intangible outputs that are submitted within the scope of a project. For the Tribal Set Aside program, we have identified 2 types of deliverables. The first type is the core deliverables, which include reports and documentation as required by the law. These reports and documentation consist of semi-annual progress reports, the quarterly financial reports, the quarterly performance measurement data, submission and clearance of proposed project budget, and the current indirect cost rate. So it is crucial to submit these core deliverables to ensure compliance with the rules and regulations governing the program. Next slide, please. This next slide is a set of deliverables that are included in your application's narrative to support the work you are doing. Some examples of these project deliverables are needs assessment, the logic model and strategic plan, policies and procedures, as well as materials for dissemination, such as publications, communications, and curricula. To help you successfully implement your grant activities, OVC designated programmatic and financial TTA providers that will offer training and technical assistance at no cost. These providers offer a variety of services such as professional development training, specific training for project staff, and assistance with capturing required performance measurement data. We encourage you to actively participate in the TTA services provided by OVC's TTA providers. Additionally, you can also use a portion of your award funds to secure your own TTA through subawards or contracts. You'll learn more about the TTA providers later in this presentation, but I just want to reiterate that we do have support here within OVC should you need assistance. At the end of your award, you will have the opportunity to certify that all of the deliverables outlined in your application were completed. We believe you can do it. So work with us and we will work with you if you have any questions to make this a success. Deliverables must be reviewed and approved by OVC. So that is an important note there. If you have any deliverables, please reach out to your assigned OVC grant manager to talk through those. Once you are ready, engage your grant manager again in a conversation about those deliverables outlined in your application. Next slide, please. So as a grantee, you play a very vital role in making your grant-funded program or project a success. To ensure a smooth and successful project, you must fulfill certain obligations, and these obligations include accepting the award in just grants, reviewing and complying with the award conditions mentioned in the award document, reaching out to your assigned OVC grant manager in cases where you may have some doubts, concerns, questions, etc. Managing and implementing the project according to the grant terms and conditions, submitting all required financial, programmatic, and performance reports, completing all deliverables as outlined in your application and the solicitation, and refraining from obligating or expending funds when you have withholding conditions on your award. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about getting started. It is very essential that every grantee reviews the new grantee welcome packet. Sometimes with my grantees, when I'm talking to them, I refer to it as a congrats letter or congrats packet, but be very open to maybe reviewing everything that's there, because some of the information that's needed is definitely, most of it, if not all, is in that new grantee welcome packet. This packet has the information that will most certainly help you effectively manage and administer your grant award. It provides detailed instructions on how to access your funds. It has the grantee onboarding toolkit that will help you feel confident and capable in managing your award. And it also has links to valuable supplemental resources. In this section, we will dive a little deeper into the information provided in the welcome packet and discuss a number of things to include how to assess and accept the award in Just Grants, reviewing and complying with the special conditions on the award document, managing and implementing the project according to the grant terms and conditions, submitting all required financial, programmatic, and performance measure reports, and completing all deliverables as stated in your application, the solicitation, and in your award special conditions. The goal here is to make sure that you have all the tools and knowledge you need to be successful in managing your grant award. And again, we are most certainly here to support you every step of the way. Next slide, please. So how to accept the award in Just Grants. You should have already received an email notification, which was sent to the application submitter, the authorized representative, and the entity administrator to sign and accept the award. The system-generated award notification email is saved in Just Grants for audit purposes and becomes a part of the history of the award. It is important to know that prior to accepting an award, the entity administrator must assign an authorized representative, a financial manager, and a grant award administrator for each award. The entity administrator must confirm that the authorized representative has the legal authority to enter into contracts, grants, and corporative agreements with the federal government on behalf of the entity. When the authorized representative or representatives log into their Just Grants account, they can view awards that need to be accepted in their work list, known as My Work List in Just Grants, if the award has been successfully assigned to them. I just want to put a special note in here to say that declining or accepting an award can only be done through Just Grants. So if you're thinking about declining, it would be, you would have to log into Just Grants as you would to accept the award. There is an award acceptance job aid that is available to you, and we will drop the link to that job aid in the chat. Next slide, please. So as it relates to your budget, all of the FY 2025 grants have been given a conditional clearance due to an additional, the additional funds being allocated. So once you have submitted your revised budget, then the Office of Justice Programs, known as OJP, the financial office will then approve your budget. As it relates to your award conditions, it is important that you read the special condition titled Conditional Clearance. This condition talks about a hold of 90% of your funding and will allow 10% of your award amount to be obligated, expended, and drawn down for budgeted costs for personnel, fringe benefits, related operational costs, and OVC mandated travel costs to participate in OJP required trainings. Under the conditional clearance, you can also use the funds to advertise for new positions, maintain current staffing, plan activities with project staff, and provide victim services. Additionally, during the application review process, other withholding award conditions may have been added to your specific award. You can review all of your award conditions in Just Grants under the Award Conditions tab, and you'll see a snapshot of that later in the presentation. So remember, if you have any withholding award conditions in addition to your conditional clearance award condition, it means that you cannot obligate, expend, or draw down funds until you take the necessary steps to have these conditions lifted. If you do not have any additional withholding award conditions, you will be able to start limited work until your budget is cleared. Again, I urge you to review the condition titled Conditional Clearance, and please reach out to your OVC grant manager if you have any questions about your grant award conditions. I would also like to give you a snapshot of the budget review process and what happens. And so you will receive an email which will be sent to the award administrator stating that action is required and that the Office of the Chief Financial Officer, known as OCFO, requests a grant award modification to update your budget to match the award amount. In Just Grants, the budget will appear in your work list under Budget Review. Before revising your budget, please ensure that you contact your assigned OVC grant manager for specific instructions on how to address any budgetary issues that may be associated with your award. Please be aware that awards with an earlier start date of October 1, 2025 will be processed before those with a later date of January 1, 2026. If you have any questions or concerns, please speak directly with your assigned OVC grant manager. Next slide, please. So next, we're going to discuss the award conditions for your grant award. And I just want to pause here very quickly to say that we understand that this is a lot of information to remember and receive as we're going through the webinar. So don't feel stressed and feeling like you have to take notes or you have to remember everything that's being talked about in today's webinar. As stated earlier in the webinar during the opening, you will receive a copy of the webinar. Next slide, please. So before we dive deeper into the details of the award conditions, it's important to note that the award conditions and language discussed during this webinar are applicable only to the FY 2025 TVSSA solicitation. If you have any project-specific questions or concerns regarding the award conditions, please don't hesitate to reach out to your OVC grant manager. Next slide, please. So we are going to pause again and take another poll, put up another poll. The question is, have you received your FY 2025 TVSSA award conditions? The choices are, yes, I have reviewed them. No, I have not reviewed them. No, I was not sure where to find the information, and I'm not sure. So take a moment to answer that poll question. Oh, interesting. Such a surprise to me, but I'm elated with the responses. It seems like the majority of you all have stated that you have reviewed them. There are about 27% that have not yet reviewed them. The 6% that talked about you're not sure where to find them. Those award conditions are in your award packet and Just Grants. So if you still have any issues about where to find those, you can contact your assigned OVC grant manager. And then that's the same for the 13%. I would encourage you to reach out to your OVC grant manager. Next slide, please. So we're moving right along with the award conditions. So what is an award condition? Federal awards come with a set of requirements called award conditions that recipients must follow during the award period. These conditions are managed in the award conditions section and included in the award packages given to grantees. Award conditions are terms and conditions that are included with the award. The award conditions may include additional requirements covering areas such as programmatic and financial reporting, prohibited uses of federal funds, consultant rates, changes in key personnel, and proper disposition of program income. It's important to know that your award conditions apply to your specific grant and may not be the same for every grantee. So it's important for those that 13%, 6% who talked about not knowing where to find those, please reach out to your OVC grant manager. So when you receive an award, you'll need to review and accept the award conditions as part of your funded award package. Again, it's important to note that each grant has its own set of special conditions, which play a significant role in ensuring compliance with federal regulations. We also want to remind you and everyone involved in the grant project, especially the signing authority, the point of contact, and the financial point of contact, to carefully read and carefully understand all of the conditions thoroughly. Doing so will help you to stay aware of any potential issues that may arise in relation to things such as subrecipients and your day-to-day activities. Being mindful of the award conditions can also help you, us to work together as a team and to ensure a successful and safe grant experience. Next slide, please. The award conditions can be categorized as either active or those with a withholding. The active conditions remain in effect throughout the entire project period, while other conditions may have a withholding or funds that are withheld until the condition is satisfied. So I just want to reiterate that we recommend that you carefully review your award package and check Just Grants to fully understand the special conditions that apply to your grant. Additionally, it's always useful to maintain open communication with your OVC grant manager to clarify any questions or concerns you may have about your special conditions. This is a note to everyone on the call. At the close of the grant period, you will certify that all conditions have been met. Next slide, please. On this particular slide, you will find 3 topics that we will be covering in relation to the award conditions. One is the general award conditions. The programmatic conditions is the second one, and the third one is the award condition withholdings. We will not go over all of the potential award conditions today. These are just a few we have highlighted. And again, the first topic is about the general specific conditions. These are the terms and conditions that apply to all of the OJP awards. These conditions may change every year. So we encourage you again to make sure that you read all of your special award conditions, or all of those conditions that are attached to your specific award. Next slide, please. One of the general award conditions talks about the grant's financial management training. If you are listed as either the grant award administrator or financial management contact in Just Grants, it is mandatory for you to complete the DOJ grants financial management training. If you are unsure if you are listed or not, please log into Just Grants and you can take a look there. It has all of those roles listed in Just Grants. Please note that it is imperative to complete the training within 120 days after accepting your award. If the recipient or you as a recipient, if you have a risk mitigation, then this award condition is a withholding award condition instead of a general award condition. And in that case, I would say, again, have a conversation with your OVC grant manager to talk through what needs to happen. To fulfill the award condition for the grants financial management training, you can choose one of the following options that I'm going to give to you. The first one is to complete the DOJ grants financial management training online, independently and directly from your desktop or workspace. This course provides a comprehensive understanding of the financial management requirements for DOJ grants. It takes between 16 to 20 hours to complete. I want you to remember that the training is asynchronous, so you can kind of stop and pause and go back to the training. And the training also covers topics such as financial management systems, budgeting, and financial reporting. Another way you can fulfill the training requirement is to attend the 2-day DOJ Financial Management Training Seminar in person. This seminar is offered periodically to all grantees, including tribes, and provides a hands-on learning experience. You will receive training on topics such as financial planning, financial management systems, and financial reporting. The seminar also includes interactive sessions where you can ask questions and discuss any concerns you may have. So if you're a person who likes to engage, then maybe this particular in-person training would be suitable for you to attend. There's also a training opportunity for you to participate in the OJP Tribes and Territories Grants Financial Management Training, which consists of 5 consecutive weeks of 1-hour live virtual sessions with activities in a learning management system known as LMS. This training is specifically designed for tribal grantees and will cover topics such as budget development, financial management systems, and financial reporting. The sessions are interactive and will allow you to connect with other grantees to discuss best practices and share insights. The dates for the upcoming virtual sessions have not yet been determined. Each of these options has been designed to provide you with the knowledge and skills you need to effectively manage your DOJ grant. So again, choose the one that best suits your needs and schedule, and take the first step towards ensuring the success of your grant program. We will also drop, because I just gave you 3 different options and that was a lot of information, we'll drop the link to the training in the chat. Next slide, please. As a recipient of a TVSSA grant, it is important that you are aware of the reporting requirements. Reporting for your grant work starts when your award period begins, regardless of whether you have accepted the award. It doesn't matter if the budget has been cleared or not, or if you've hired staff or not. So just remember that your progress begins either October 1, 2025 or January 1, 2026. So that's when you'll start looking at the progress and the reporting thereof. You might be wondering what is meant by reporting requirements. The reporting is essentially a way for you to update OVC on the progress of your grant work. This includes providing us with information on milestones achieved, challenges encountered, and how the grant funds are being utilized. There are very specific questions in those performance reports. We urge you to really give us substantive information, data within those reports, so that if we need to reach back out to you for perhaps some technical support, we can do so, and then we have a point of reference from that information that you included in your report. I just want to make note to also say that it's important to note that failure to meet your reporting requirements could result in a delay of your grant payments or even termination of the grant. So please be vigilant of those dates and complete those reports as required. Next slide, please. So we talked about the general conditions. We will now talk about the programmatic conditions. They are a set of specific requirements that are associated with each award and remain in effect throughout the life of the award. These conditions are similar to the general conditions, but they are tailored to meet the specific needs of the award and the associated solicitation or program. The programmatic award conditions may include specific reporting requirements, milestones that must be achieved, or other performance metrics that must be met to ensure successful completion of the award. And by providing these detailed requirements, programmatic award conditions help to ensure that the recipient is fully aware of all expectations and can work towards achieving them throughout the life of the award. Next slide, please. Next, we're going to talk about the consultant rates. There are guidelines for compensation of individual consultant services by grant recipients. It's important to know that the rate paid should be reasonable and consistent with the market rate for similar services. Please note that the maximum limit for the OJP consultant rate is $650 per day or $81.25 per hour. In cases where the rate exceeds the limit for an 8-hour day, a proportionate hourly rate excluding travel or other necessary costs, you'll need to get a prior written approval from OJP. Prior approval requests require additional justification. So this is one of those times where you would reach out to your OVC grant manager for further guidance. An 8-hour day may include preparation, evaluation, and travel time in addition to the time required for actual performance. However, it's important to remember that the rate cannot and should not be the maximum limit for all consultants. The rate should be consistent with the current market rate for the service provided. To support this, the consultant rate agreement file must contain a documented market analysis and justification of the agreed upon rate. If there's no supporting documentation, consultant expenditures may be questioned during an audit or monitoring review. To determine the current market value, you can check out competitive contract bids under the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. We will drop the link to that website in the chat. Next slide, please. Any OVC grantee with a project involving construction, expansion, or renovation activities, no matter the size or scale, must comply with the NEPA requirements. The OVC grantee must work with OVC's designated NEPA technical assistance provider to complete the NEPA process prior to actual construction, expansion, renovation, or remodeling. The NEPA process, depending on the scope of the proposed project, can take up to 1 year to complete and must be completed before the construction or renovation can begin. Next slide. So we're going to pause again. I cannot see the chat. And so, Lori, do we have any questions?
Hey, Ramisa. This is Lori. We have had some good questions in the Q&A that have been answered. Just in the interest of time, I think it would be best to keep moving, and then hopefully we'll have some time at the end of the presentation for more questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lori. So moving on to the next slide, and looking at the withholdings, you may ask yourself, what is an award withholding? The award withholding restricts grantees from drawing down funds if not in compliance with the award special conditions. The withholding should be addressed immediately, and the withholdings may be added when information is missing from the application. Next slide, please. This slide is just a screenshot taken from Just Grants. We talked about the withholdings earlier and where to find those in Just Grants. This screenshot tells you if you go under the funding balance and availability tab and look under holds, you will see which award conditions need to be addressed. You also see the dollar amount withheld and the date that the withholding became effective. Next slide, please. So there is one withholding that we would like for you to pay close attention to. All of the FY25 awards received a conditional clearance on the budget. This withholding states prior to budget clearance, and unless there is a more restrictive condition on this award, in which case the terms of that more restrictive condition applies. The recipient may not obligate, expend, or draw down more than 10% of the award. Pre-clearance obligations, expenditures, and drawdowns may be disallowed if not in compliance with program requirements. Next slide, please. So the indirect cost withholdings. If you plan to charge indirect costs to your grant, you must follow specific guidelines for this award condition, which states that the recipient may not obligate, expend, or draw down any funds for indirect costs unless and until the recipient submits to OJP a current federally approved indirect cost rate agreement, or the recipient determines that it is eligible under Part 200 uniform requirements to use the de minimis indirect cost rate described into CFR and advises OJP in writing of its eligibility and its election. Next slide, please. So again, as you can see on this slide, there are additional withholdings that may apply to your specific award. As a reminder, please search under the funding balance and availability tab in Just Grants to find out if you need to address any specific award conditions. Next slide, please. This slide just reiterates that you should take immediate action and work with your OVC grant manager if you have award condition withholdings. And again, your OVC grant manager is the only one who can remove those award withholdings. Once the award withholding is removed, the POCs listed in Just Grants will receive notification. And so next, I will turn things over to my colleague, Sherry.
Thank you, Ramisa. So good morning and good afternoon. My name is Sherry Holloway, and I'm one of the OVC Grant Management Specialists, and I will be speaking to you today about construction and renovation projects. Construction activities funded under TVSSA must have victim services as their primary purpose. To be allowable, construction costs must meet the following criteria. Standard construction expenses must be reasonable, necessary, and directly related to the operation and delivery of the Victim Services Program. Construction projects that are secondary to or unrelated to the provision of victim services are not allowable under TVSSA funding. Grant recipients must clearly demonstrate how the proposed construction activity directly supports and enhances the delivery of victim services. Sufficient details must be provided to establish a clear nexus between the construction project and direct service provisions. Failure to adequately justify construction activities in accordance with this policy may result in denial of the proposed costs. Next slide, please. Construction activities funded under TVSSA. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm on the wrong slide. As aforementioned, construction activities must be reasonable and necessary to support the delivery of victim services. Projects that are unrelated to victim services, again, are not allowable under TVSSA funding. Applicants must demonstrate a clear and direct link between the proposed construction activities and the provision of direct victim services. Sufficient detail and justification must be provided to establish how the construction supports or enhances service delivery. The availability or allowability of construction costs will be determined on a case-by-case basis and subject to program review and approval. Subject to prior approval and compliance with all applicable program requirements, the following construction-related activities may be considered allowable when they are reasonable, necessary, and directly support the delivery of victim service. Modular and prefabricated structures may be allowable for victim service delivery, including the purchase, site preparation, and installation of modular or prefab buildings, trailer homes, motorhomes, or similar structures that serve as a location for providing emergency shelter, transitional housing, counseling and advocacy, or any type of direct victim services. Construction funds can be used for major and minor renovations and expansion to existing buildings to use to provide victim services. Perimeter improvements include installation of fencing outside of a surrounding victim's facility when necessary to support safety, security enhancements, and/or ADA modifications or program operations. Access improvements include construction of sidewalks, parking areas, driveways, access roads, and similar infrastructure necessary to provide safe and reasonable access to the victim services facility. Construction of a new building referred to as a stick-built or ground-up construction is allowable only in instances where it is more cost-effective than purchasing a modular or prefab structure and intended to serve as a facility for delivering victim services. And lastly, project planning expense, reasonable construction project planning expenses must be directly related to an approved construction project that support victim services. All proposed activities are subject, again, to case-by-case review and approval to determine allowability and compliance with program requirements. Next slide, please. Allowable and unallowable costs for construction activities. The following costs are allowable when properly approved by OVC and documented. Modular and prefab buildings. You can still purchase and do site preparation and installation. Site preparation and installation includes groundwork needed for modular prefab structures. You're allowed to do major renovation or expansion. That is a significant update or enlargement of an existing victim service facility. Minor renovation or remodeling. That is a smaller scale of improvements to support service delivery. Access-related infrastructure, which includes fences, sidewalks, ramps, parking, driveways, and other accessibility features. Traditional new construction, again, is only allowed if cost-effective compared to modular prefab options. New construction permitting with modular prefab options are also permitted when buildings are not feasible. Allowable costs must meet federal purpose necessarily and cost-effective standards. Unallowable costs, construction costs not directly tied to victim service delivery. Projects initiated without required prior approval. Real property acquisition is not allowable. That includes the purchasing of land. Purchase of an existing building affixed to land is also not allowable. However, if the tribal entity has a building deeded to them and the tribe can show proof of ownership, or if the tribal entity owned a building with documented proof, the building can be renovated with scale improvements to support service delivery. Again, all proposed activities are subject to case-by-case review and approval to determine allowability, and compliance with program requirements. Planning expenses that are speculative, unrelated to approved project, or not clearly tied to victim service delivery would generally be not allowable. Next slide. As Ramisa spoke earlier about NEPA requirements, all construction and renovation projects must comply with the National Environmental Policy Act, which is referred to as NEPA. NEPA review and environmental determination must be fully completed to the commencement of any construction activities. NEPA requires federal agencies to consider the effects that a proposed action, including awarding grants, may have on the environment and any related social and economic effects. The Office for Victims of Crime is responsible for making the official environmental determination. OVC funded contractors will provide assistance to grant recipients to ensure full compliance with NEPA requirements throughout the project. Next slide, please. So while completing the NEPA process, construction and renovation projects will require a questionnaire. For all projects, it applies to modular buildings, renovation or expansions, new construction, no matter the size, scope, or cost. The purpose of the questionnaire is to provide reviewers with a complete understanding of the project, and it ensures compliance with DOJ standards, budget justifications, and safety inspection requirements, and determine the applicable ability of NEPA and other environmental requirements. Failure to submit questionnaire may result in delays, funding holes, or cost disallowance. Some guidance and recommendations when completing the questionnaire. Be thorough. Provide full details for every question. Partial answers may delay approval. Include technical specifics, references to site plans, and cost documentation when relevant. Include supporting evidence. Reference preliminary designs, inspection reports, cost reports, and project delivery plans. For modular buildings, indicate compliance with DOJ minimum standards and 20-year useful life requirements. Consistency is key. Ensure that the information in the questionnaire aligns with your supporting documents and project plans. Avoid discrepancies between stated project scope, budget, and design specifications. When you're submitting supporting documents, preliminary site plans and designs, visual plans show the proposed layout, site orientation, and design concepts. This helps reviewers understand feasibility and the planning. Project delivery and implementation plans. Again, detailed steps on how the project will be executed, including timelines, milestones, construction phase and strategies, and responsible parties. Record from previous inspections or assessments demonstrating compliance with safety building codes and DOJ standards. Cost estimates. Detailed breakdown of the expenses, the labor markets, material. Consider off-site or on-site utility and connection locations. It is important if you justify stick build versus modular construction. This cost will show, again, cost effectiveness. For those of you located in Alaska, consider costs associated with winter construction and winter shutdowns. Modular building requirements must comply with DOJ standards. Buildings must have a 20-year useful life, meaning material, construction quality, and design should ensure durability and long-term function. For more reference on construction, please review the DOJ Grants Financial Guide, Section 3.8 Construction, review the TVSSA Budget Guidance, and contact your OVC grant manager to ask questions. The section will outline allowable costs, budgeting rules, and documentation requirements for construction-related projects funded through DOJ grants. Thank you, And now I would turn it over to Lori Gardner.
Thank you, Sherry. Next, we're going to talk about your support system as a TVSSA grant recipient. Next slide, please. Your first line of support is, of course, your assigned grant manager. The OVC grant managers are responsible for overseeing the entire life cycle of the grant, and that includes all the way from application review to closeout. There was a slide at the beginning of the presentation with all of the Tribal Division grant managers just to help you put a name with a face. But some of the roles for the grant managers include, reaching out to you all initially to ensure that you understand the requirements of the grant, connecting you with TA providers and other resources. A very important role is to monitor the programmatic, administrative, and financial requirements of the awards. We perform desk reviews and site visits. We have to perform desk reviews of every single award every year. And then we select certain awards to do site visits for each year as well. And those are done either virtually or in person. We also are responsible for reviewing and approving grant award modifications, and then providing additional oversight for some grantees that have a high risk status. Next slide, please. As part of being a TVSSA grant recipient, you also have access to free training and technical assistance. So some types of TTA that's available include programmatic training, assistance with budget modifications, support for construction and renovation projects that were just discussed by Sherry. So if you feel like you need TTA, please reach out to your grant manager for more information. Next slide, please. And now we're going to talk about reports and due dates, which Ramisa hit on a little bit. There are two systems that we use for reporting. There's the PMT system, and then there's the Just Grants system. So on the next couple of slides, we're going to dive into, which system you use for what. Next slide, please. So overall, there are three types of programmatic reports. First, there is the quarterly data report, and you enter that in PMT only. The second report is the semi-annual report, and what that includes is the quarterly 2 quarters of data that you enter in PMT, plus additional narrative questions. Those 2 quarters plus the narrative questions equals up to the semi-annual report. And then you're gonna download that PDF report and upload it into Just Grants. And then you have the final report at the end of your project. And this is where you're going to discuss and provide information over all of the activities that you've done over the life of the award. Next slide, please. And this shows you the schedule for the reports that are when they're due and then which system they're due in. Next slide, please. So here is the website for PMT. If you are new to PMT, you will need to reach out to them to create an account with the PMT help desk, and I'll have information for them in a moment. Your TVSSA award will be listed in PMT under Transforming Victim Services. Next slide, please. There are many different resources on performance reporting on the OVC website under the performance measures section. There are previous trainings that were held, as well as a dictionary of terminology. And the TVSSA performance measures are at the bottom of the Transforming Victim Services page. Please note that all grant recipients will also be responsible for answering a supplemental questionnaire on MMIP performance measures in Just Grants on a semi-annual basis. If you don't conduct MMIP activities, you may not have anything to report, but you have to move through that part of the report. Next slide, please. And this slide just shows when to call who when you're doing your reports, who when you need to call PMT versus when you need to call just grants. Next slide, please. And this slide just has the contact information for PMT as well as just grants, as well as their hours. I will say, when in doubt, if you don't know who to contact, certainly always reach out to your grant manager and they can help you figure out which direction you need to go to. Next slide, please. And the next few slides, I just want to go quickly through some resources available to you all and some information. Labrita mentioned at the beginning of the presentation in her remarks that the population certification process is already out and due March 23rd. So this is the link. Hopefully we can get that in the chat. And there's more information on our website about that. Next slide, please. So the Just Grants team offers real-time technical assistance and support on how to use Just Grants. You can also, through their website, view previous Q&A recordings and materials. There's a lot of videos that are available. They do have some future trainings coming up, so please, hopefully we can get this link in the chat, and you can go to this link and see what trainings are coming up in the future. Next slide, please. And OVC will be hosting a training seminar or webinar for grant recipients on performance measures and reporting in PMT. During that training, participants will learn how to report on the performance measures, and then also some resources on data collection for reporting. PMT also holds some office hours where you can go and ask questions. And the next dates for the office hours and the training that will be held in April have not been set yet. However, that information will be sent out very soon. Next slide, please. And as mentioned before, there's several options for the grants and financial management training that you can take online. You can do it at your own pace. Listed on this slide are the trainings that will be having both in person in DC as well as one that will be held virtually. And this is the contact information for learning more about how to register for those. This next slide has some important websites. I think most of these we've already gone through today. The last one I would point out is that self-paced grants and financial management training. That's very important that you get completed. And next slide, please. The OVC Tribal website, I would really point to as a good place to bookmark for important information. A lot of the information we've talked about today can be found on our website. You can find recordings from previous webinars. You can find all of the solicitations and NOFOs and lots of other resources. So this would be a good website to bookmark for future reference. Next slide, please. This is some useful contact information for the different systems. The OVC Tribal set-aside email address. When in doubt, like if you don't know who your grant manager is, please, feel free to email this address. And that information is also in your welcome packet that you received probably about a couple weeks ago. So now I think, are pretty much out of time. I apologize for going over time. Do we have any questions that we can take in the next minute or so that have come in? I'm not seeing any in the Q&A. I did want to mention that we have a brief evaluation link for you all to take for the training today. If you would please be sure to take the evaluation, we would appreciate that so much. We appreciate you joining us today, and we look very much forward to working with you all this next year. Thank you all so much for everything you all do on behalf of the Tribal Division.